At the end of chapter 10, Krishna tells Arjuna, what use is all this knowledge of my opulence, because you can barely understand any of it. I've hardly described even a spark of it, and already it's overwhelming you. And yet still Arjuna, in the 11th chapter, asks Krishna, let me see that form of yours that pervades all of creation. Let me see that dynamic by which you're causing everything to come into being and to be destroyed. And so Krishna obliges Arjuna, something like he did in the 2nd chapter, when he overwhelmed Arjuna with all of the philosophy of the Bhagavad Gita, in a mood of bringing Arjuna to a place where he really wanted him to be, so that he could hear what he really had to say. Krishna now shows Arjuna this enormous, inconceivable form of the cosmic manifestation to help Arjuna come to a place of desiring an intimate relationship with Krishna, which is what Krishna is actually interested in. Again, we often have this idea that God is big and we are small, and so the relationship is going to be limited to that kind of subservient level of servant and master. And yet Krishna himself, who is the Supreme Person, isn't so much interested in having the position of God. He only has that position because it allows him to love in a pure and complete way all of his creation all at once. That's the real opulence that Krishna enjoys, is that he can have a relationship with all of us simultaneously, and all of us will simultaneously be satisfied in that connection with him. All the other things related to creating and destroying the material energy and all of the other details of the creation, Krishna just sees as circumstance or symptomatic of this one desire of his to have a loving exchange with all his creation. So he shows Arjuna that everybody on the battlefield, despite Arjuna's pleas earlier to not have a war at all, every one of them have actually already died. Because that's the will of Krishna, that through this battle, many people, many souls will move from one body to the next, as has been designed and discussed many times already. Because the soul is ultimately eternal, and any attachment to the body ultimately has to be destroyed, because the body is temporary, and so it's not a fit place for the soul to be. And so Krishna shows Arjuna the jaws of death, and when Arjuna sees the breadth and the scope of Krishna in this cosmic creation, he begins to get queasy again. He begins to feel nauseous, and he begins to feel like he's totally breached his relationship with Krishna. He begins to feel like he's actually violated his connection with Krishna, because he's recognizing now that this is the Supreme Person, and what it means that he's the Supreme Person is so far beyond the conception that I had before. Because Arjuna was relating to Krishna up until now as a chariot driver and one who's driven. So basically, Krishna was like Arjuna's chauffeur, and they were related also in a familial way. And so just like we may joke around with our cousins and friends, Arjuna had joked around with Krishna as a cousin and as a friend. And now he's regretting all of that, because he's realizing that this is the guy in charge of everything. And yet Krishna is very happy to have been able to joke around and have those sweet exchanges of intimacy and friendship with Arjuna. And so Arjuna, realizing that this is the person who's controlled everything, recognizes whether I fight or not, the people that Krishna has chosen to move on from one body to the next, the people Krishna has chosen to die, they're already dead. So really, this is what it means that I do my service, is that I accept my position as an instrument in the result that Krishna has already decided. And in that way, I can be satisfied. But this is not where Krishna wants the relationship to end, just that Arjuna accepts his position as a very small cog in the machine of the material creation. What Krishna wants Arjuna to recognize is that through that service, he'll feel a deeper and more intimate connection with him than he ever could just simply staring or trying to contemplate the vastness of the material creation that Krishna is the origin of. It's not by Arjuna's intellect or by the intellect of ourselves or anyone else that Krishna is going to be understood, recognized, or had a relationship with. It's actually only through a connection in service that can bring us to a place of being able to experience that sweetness and love of Krishna, despite the incredible size and breadth of himself compared to the very small and minute us. Yes, Krishna is quantitatively so far beyond what we ever will be, and yet by his own sweet will and mercy, qualitatively, he is the same as us, and we are the same as him. And because of that qualitative sameness, we can have a relationship of love and connection. And so at the end of chapter 11, Arjuna asks Krishna to please, again, reveal yourself to me in that sweet, relatable form that you showed me earlier. And from that place, in that connection and mood, I want to serve you eternally. And this is what Krishna's been waiting to hear through the whole conversation. And so, of course, he's very happy to oblige Arjuna and pull back the universal form and show again that very sweet two-handed form, ready to drive the chariot on the battlefield of Kurukshetra.